Ancaman resiko resesi global yang diumumkan oleh Bank Indonesia menjadi salah satu tantangan yang harus dijawab oleh pengusaha dunia. Lantas bagaimana para pengusaha memanfaatkan tantangan yang ada menjadi peluang global? Saya akan membahasnya dengan Ketua Umum Kamar Dagang dan Industri Indonesia, Kadin, Bapak Arsjad Rasjid. Okay, Mr. Arsjad, let's start the first question. As the global economic condition right now is not very well, how the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry strategy to improve our global economic condition?
Yes, thank you. I mean, this is the part why, number one, the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or Kadin, is tasked for this Business 20 or B20. Right? But when we had the first initial thinking for the B20, there was no conflicts yet. So there was a pandemic. It was how to get out from the pandemic, how do we recover economically. Then we have the conflicts, the Russia and Ukraine conflicts, and very unfortunate. But this then worsened the situation, as you know, right? So through high energy costs, high food costs, even scarcity of food. So where Kadin is standing today, Kadin gathers all the businesses of the G20 countries and beyond. And that's why we went all over for road shows, to share our concern that, we need to have this meeting. And it turned out to be very good. 69 countries is here. So now we asked them that we have to make sure that the B20 must produce a communique, right? There are 7, avenues that we have, right? But of course, as you all know, Indonesia have 3 main agenda, right? So that's the 3 main agenda of energy transition, healthcare, and of course, digital transformation. But from all of this, we have the legacies, which is very important, which is unlike any other B20s before, because our president, Bapak Joko Widodo, is a man of action. He says, let's not just have policies, let's have the action plan. So what's the action plan? The legacy. So what is the legacy? So we pick few legacies to make sure that usually the agenda change every time of meetings, and then there's no continuation. This time we want to make sure there's a continuation, particularly because Indonesia is the first president from the emerging country. So we want to voice out the emerging country voice, right? So this is where then we stand. We have that 3 agenda, but with a caveat, focusing on small, medium enterprises, which is then, that's the issue of all what we call as the emerging countries. And then this, for example, on the energy transition, we have created carbon excellence centers, carbon center of excellence. And then we have also we have another one for health, we call One Shot, right? Then we have the other 2, which is then from the transformation of the digital transformation, which is one is Wiki, which is for small medium enterprises platform, so that small medium enterprises in Indonesia, this is actually originated from Indonesia. We want to push it to the G20 countries and beyond, and even ASEAN next year. And then we have another one is women empowerment, which is to make sure that women leaders must be treated equally, and all the opportunity for women must be there. And so that also will be housed. So there is a continuation from Indonesia to India, from India to Brazil, from Brazil to South Africa. All of us are emerging countries, right? But then the other thing is that we actually want to voice out. This is as Indonesian perspective, or as the Kadin particularly our perspective, that we need to see the world differently. After the pandemic, right? What happened after the pandemic is, number one, it's a new world, they say. It's a new reality. Yeah. So it has to have a new mindset too. So we introduced a setting of 5 Ps, we say. And this 5 Ps, first is peace. Without peace, whatever we say, whatever we do, we can't do anything. And the end, from peace, we need to talk about prosperity. Because most of the conflicts, the root cause is actually prosperity. Right? This is where the is required for us to think about the prosperity. And I think all leaders of the world, of any country, should be thinking the prosperity of their people. So it's a key factors. Prosperity, this must be always in the mind. Then prosperity for who? For people. That's the next P. People. That's us. I mean, at the end of the day, let's go back to basic. It's all about people. People to be prosper and to have peacefulness. Without peacefulness, there's no prosperity. Then how do we do with the people? And we have to make sure that all people have the same access for education, for technology, for even all. You cannot differentiate between people of, say, emerging countries or poor countries or advanced countries. So the advanced countries to help us, support us with human capital development, support us with technology. Then we talk about planet, talk about sustainability. That's what we all talk about, you know. Indonesia committed to a net zero by the year 2060 as an example. Planet, and planet is something, you know, there's only one Earth. Right? There's only one Earth. What divides us is only the world. When we talk about nations, then you have borders. Then we talk about climate. Is there borders in the climate? No. Right? And the question is, now how do we fix this? Because sustainability, which is climate, which is oxygen, is what all people needs. And of course, all of us, Indonesia, and the African countries and all other emerging countries. We're all the same, advanced countries. We want to make sure we want to be healthy. We want to have longevity, which is then what is needed, clean. We want to make sure that our grandchildren and so forth will be, you know, that's planet. So it's actually obvious that we need to do this together. But it is necessary, you know. So far, you know, when we talk about economic development, we talk about industrial revolution, 1, 2, 3, and now it's 4th. You know, the previous industrial revolution has been powered by carbonization. That has to be realized there. Now, decarbonization. So the current emerging countries or poorer country has to develop with decarbonization. We are okay because we acknowledge we are in one Earth. But this is then where we need to work together. The advanced countries must give us, you know, let's say when talk, Luhut said, interest rate must be lower, must be the same as when you give, you know, loan to the US or to Europe, same as you give to Indonesia. You cannot differentiate that, particularly on sustainability, because this is something we talk about as one example, right? And then we cannot be dictated of what we have to do in going towards net zero. The most important is that we will have the same goal by 2060. But we have to have our own plan because, you know, every country characteristic is different. And then more than that, every sector of industry in that country will be different. And then more than that, sorry to say, it's large, medium, and small corporation. And last but not least, it's partnership.
Okay.
All right? And this partnership is needed to do this. And what we want to, we bring in the value of Indonesia, which is then the value of, you know, gotong royong, which is the value of, you know, mutual, inclusive collaboration. That has to be it. And again, with the framework of Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which is
this is a very good strategy from Kadin. But which one that will be the next implementation in the future, in the near future?
Yes.
Because it's 5 parts with different kind of things.
So that is first is mindset. Because we cannot do anything without, if you don't have the alignment of mindset to have values in the plan, right? So Kadin now pushes again that how the advanced countries should help with the emerging countries. Go to the projects, let's say. Let's say we have this project in Indonesia called the electrification of villages, as an example. We presented that. We say, hey, investors, there's this village. We want to keep an island of village, where electrification is needed so that human life is better. And we're going to electrify it with solar energy, as an example, right? So with this, say, invest in this. But look at this, you know, not just merely at the risk, but this is, you know, no, don't put interest that is so high that it's not viable, as an example, right? So that's why, for example, the project and say, okay, if we can do this here, We can scale up in any other countries, in other villages in the world, as one example. Another example, we go to the projects, legacies of healthcare. Let's say Indonesia, during the pandemic, we have what we call Peduli Lindungi, and how the government works with all the private sector startups. I think Pak Budi Sadikin would have mentioned this. How we work together to make sure that hospitalization, so we can actually stop people from going to the hospital because it's not necessary, so that people can have a teledoctor first, they send the medicine. This can be applied to the world. And this is also another business for the startup. So what we are doing is thinking about humanity, but thinking about also at the same time the business approach of this, and also sustainability. So this can be scalable all over the world, as an example. Another thing, right? What we are doing actually in this process of energy transition, as an example, right? What we are offering to the world is that, hey, world, Indonesia, can be the center of the supply chains of the world. Do not depend on one country. Indonesia can be the supply chain for electric vehicles, as an example. Why? With the batteries, and we're inviting them to actually participate in inviting them here, and the concept of build, operate, localize. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. We are pushing, because at the end of the day, the government policies must have that mindset first of that piece, so that they can have a talk and discuss. Because if not, how can we solve the problem?
Of course.
We start with a peace, right? So, but we want to make sure that economically, that look at Indonesia, how we actually manage our inflation, how do we manage our food situation, how do we manage our health situation, right? And we are sharing this to other parts of the world. And this, hopefully, will be the voice of emerging countries, and we're asking all emerging countries to work together, and we want to share what we have. So that will create at least a push of economy to create a better economy for the world. And that's, let's take it to the action, take it to what we are doing, and we share it, and let's let them do something like this. And we invite, for example, a ratification, on minerals with Australia as an example. We ask Australia, don't look at us as competitor. Look at us as complementary. Okay. So we talk with Australia, and we say, let's do something. Why? We have the nickels.
Okay.
You have the other minerals that's needed to make the batteries, the lithium, sorry. So if you do it yourself, we do it ourselves, 1 + 1 is 1, or 1 + 1 only 2. But if we do it together, synergizing, 1 + 1 become 5. Okay. So this is one example of synergy and creating the economic growth of Indonesia. We're inviting Australian, the ASEAN countries. We are going to be the chair of ASEAN next year.
It's going to be interesting because you already talk about Australia and also Asia. How about the free trade agreement upon the countries?
Yeah.
Because it's basically the main focus also in the B20 Summit.
Yes, free trade is why we keep saying, let's go back to the free, let's work this out and go back to what we have promised each other, what we have signed, actually, right? But there is a need for us, to move forward, thinking with a new mindset. That's why I said the 5 Ps, because one example, the European Union has this Green Deal, right? Whereby all products to the EU, by 2030 must be green products. We support that. It's great, because we're talking about the planet. But before the planet, we have to talk about the people, and we're talking about the prosperity. When we talk about prosperity, I say to the European Union, so I'm the house of all the businesses, from large to micro businesses. So is that something that the European Union wants to exclude small, medium enterprises? Because it's easier it's still challenging for the large corporation to adapt to this Green Deal, green products. How about the medium enterprises? How about the small enterprises? Are you leaving behind the small businesses? They cannot sell any more products to the European Union. So this is where that mindset has to change. There's no one solution for all.
What would be the strategy from Kadin
Yes,
to put them at the first row?
no, because for us, we say, hey, small medium enterprises is the foundation of our economy. And I think it's all the foundation of many economies in the world. I think all economies in the world. But they've been forgotten. You cannot left behind small medium enterprises. For Indonesia, contributes more than 67% to the Indonesian economy. And more than that, they actually contribute more than 90% of jobs creation in Indonesia. It's not large corporation, but it's SMEs. And that's why we want to push this. And this is, I think, like India, for example. I talked to the Indians, the Sherpa of India, and also the next host for the B20, and say, hey, guys, can we do a continuation of what we are doing what we have done in Indonesia? I'm very happy to hear from them. They say, yes, agree. And I say, this is emerging countries agenda. Yes, we understand. Let's do it. I want to continue what Indonesia have done, but we will add more. I'm happy, right? And then we talk to Brazil and say, Brazil, can you do that? Brazil say yes. So the voice, the world economy has been the voice of the advanced country. Now it's time for the voice of the emerging country.
Okay. Which country do you think will be the best partner for Indonesia to fight the global recession right now?
Indonesia do not pick any country. Indonesia is free to all. Indonesia works with everything. Indonesia wants to work with the US, Indonesia wants with China, Indonesia wants with India, with ASEAN, with Australia, Japan, all with South Korea as an example. So pick an example. On the development of batteries, we work with CATL from China. We work with LG from Korea. On the manufacturing, we work with Hyundai from Korea. We're inviting Tesla to come. We're inviting the UK to come. We're inviting Australia, we're inviting, just now I said the minerals. So it's part of the ecosystem. I was in Saudi Arabia. I was in Saudi Arabia during the FII investment, right? In which then the Saudis are saying, hey, we want to develop the supply chains, global supply chains. I say, yes, great. Let's work together. There could be a synergy, particularly on these electric vehicles. Why not Saudi Arabia, Middle East, work with us, Indonesia and Southeast Asia, and even Australia, so that, the supply chains, we want to be part of the supply chains and the most efficient supply chains.
Okay. We talk much about the relation between Indonesia and also the other countries in trade and investment also. But do you think what will be the most benefiting from the B20 forum right now during our presidency?
First of all, we will have to make sure that it benefits our people first, Indonesia. Okay. So that's why, this B20 is not these 2 days of 13 and 14. Since the inception, it's been 1 year. And there are so many side events that held during this 1 year period in various cities, in Yogyakarta, in Solo. For B20 is more than 100 events. For the G20, I think it's more than 150 or 200. You combine that, and with that, what happened? We create economic growth, right? Especially that, the small, medium enterprises can participate in hotels, accommodation, cars, everything. No, so for the economy of Indonesia, because that's what the president wants. And moreover, when they are here today, all this, we have 69 countries, more than 2,000 CEOs, online and offline. What we want them is to trade Indonesia, and so we want to create tourism also, right? So that's number one for Indonesia. Number two is that one, the agenda of the emerging country that we want to push. Okay, very important. And of course, so for Indonesia first, for the people, so we want them to invest in Indonesia. If you see, our goal together between the, Kadin and also the Minister of Investment is 2,200 trillion rupiah, right? Just yesterday, right, on sustainability, we were sending 75 trillion rupiah. And then today, there's more trillions that are being signed. Then tomorrow, you will see UAE is also making more commitments. So it's going to be, we have that goal of 2,000, because investment creates jobs for Indonesia. So one for Indonesia, one for the G20 countries and beyond, which is emerging countries perspective. And of course, the third is we want to be part of leadership of the world. We want to be part who actually lead the new economic change of the world. Indonesia wants to be there. We are not followers anymore, we are a leader. We want to show the world, this is a new Indonesia. A new Indonesia, we are doing what we call structural reform and phases of structural reforms. The first structural reform, as you know, omnibus law. This omnibus law, the first one is the job creation law. We'll have the finance, we'll have more structural reforms. So we are welcoming and cutting all red tapes. And we want to make sure that everyone understands we're instilling ESG value, environment, social, and governance, to all the companies in Indonesia. And this is something I think should be appreciated. And to see that, more coming to Indonesia. And next year, Indonesia and ASEAN chair. So that's something else. We want to create centrality of ASEAN. Something that, hey, let's work together. We'll create something. So I've been talking to, let's say, the Thais right now. How the Thais can also be part of ecosystem of EV with us. So, it's inclusiveness. So we create value together. And that's, I think, very much what we bring in is inclusive collaboration between countries of the world. That's, I think, very important.
Last question. How Kadin make sure that all the legacy will keep in track?
That's why we house it. For example, on the first legacies, on the one-shot legacy, we work with Tony Blair Institute, Kadin. And then we're going to add more to this so-called hub, one-shot hub, so that, it is continuation. And it will be done also in India and continue to Brazil and South Africa, okay? And this is something that we want to be inclusive to all. So we want to make sure it continues. The wiki, that's why we've already have MOU with Japan. JICA is actually sponsoring for the Japanese version of the wiki with Japanese language. India is now working. So it is moving, right? And then on one woman empowerment is also moving. We work with all different organizations in the world, right? And on the Carbon Center of Excellence, that's something that we house together with Bloomberg NEF, right? So make sure that we can deepen and make sure that, even now the measurement is not there. We have to have a standard of measurement for this. And Indonesia want to be part of that discussion, that conversation, because we say, hey, guys, don't make it too complicated also. If it's too complicated, how for the small, medium enterprises? It's like the halal, right? If you make it so complicated, how the small businesses can do, right, in Indonesia. So this is the thing that I think we continue this and we support this continuation. And while we support it also with projects, so that is alive. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Arsjad Rasjid,
No,
Chairman
thank you.
of Kadin.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it. No, I thank you very much. We need the media to inform the world there is a new Indonesia Incorporated.
Of course. This is very interesting discussion, and maybe we can do more in the next future.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Dan demikianlah diskusi saya dengan Bapak Arsjad Rasjid, Chairman Kadin, tentang B20 dan juga tentang Indonesia dalam hal investasi dan juga perdagangan. Terima kasih dan sampai jumpa.